Hi, my name's Shawn Taylor. That's my friend Chris Ford, aka The Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter fame. Merry Christmas if you're into that sort of thing. Happy holidays if you're into generic holiday things. And if neither of those apply, then I hope you have a good weekend. Have a good weekend. Hopefully the weather's good for you. And Chris, how you doing? Buddy, what's up?
I look silly down here doing. If I know you'll never watch Naruto, so in Naruto they do
There's just
in
too much.
order to
I
like.
might want to watch Naruto. There's just too much. I'm not going to commit to that.
Such great. Just get. I binged it this past like 3 weeks or 4 weeks, like everything. You have to find the filler list and just ignore the fillers,
Okay.
and then you pretty much cut it in half at that point. Which is still a pretty tall task, but it's a great show. I love
If
the
you
show.
find me a good arc, if you find me a good set of episodes to like whet my appetite, that tends to be
Huh.
something I like to bite
Oh
into.
man. Maybe the tuning exams. I don't know, it's hard. Anyway, but Naruto, in order for them to like do use their powers, they have to do these hand symbols, and I wish I could learn one of them. So they're called jutsus, right? Like you do a jutsu to clone yourself, or you do a jutsu to throw a fireball. Um, so I've been in this. I probably my most unpopular take with Korra, which is I won't include in my list here, but
So you're
it's
really
that
jumping out of
Korra
the
can.
gate here.
I know. Let's a lot of people are like, dude, you're freaking crazy. Are you high? So there's this character named Madara Uchiha in or just Madara. He is like a legendary character in Naruto. Like he's known as the god, one of the gods of shinobi. Um, he's a very powerful character. And I was like, you know what? I think Korra could be it. And and people are like, dude, I hate people. Some people are like, I hate when people try to like compare Avatar characters to like anime because the power scaling just isn't the same. And I would normally agree. It's very difficult
No, that's me
to
in general.
compare.
I hate crossing series, man. I don't mess with that stuff.
Like it's Avatar. I would say for the most part, Avatar characters would get wrecked by most anime characters, but it's the Avatar. The Avatar itself is the most OP person. Like the power is fairly unlimited. And so the reason why I said that she could beat Madara Uchiha was like three things. The Avatar state is we don't know what's and also you won't understand it, but I was saying Madara before he gets to Rinnegan. I know that means nothing to you. That's okay. Um
I played one PS2 game one time from Naruto, and it was fine as a fighting game.
but so I said because Avatar state is so OP, because Korra knows metal bending, he has Madara wears his metal armor. So we go to Avatar state, use metal bending real quick, crush him. But the main one of the main things was that even if Korra can just immobilize him. So in Naruto, they use where their power source comes from is called chakra, right? And chakra and chi are or ki, chi, we'll call it chi, because in Avatar they refer to it as chi, are the same things. Like it's like energy flowing through your body that you use to manipulate elements or manipulate things. Um, so Korra, knowing how to give bending to people, I am positive she knows how to take away bending because to me it's like you get the key and the key can lock the door, the key can unlock the door. Korra could take away or block Madara's chakra paths, hence preventing him from doing his jutsus or doing his powers, and then she could defeat him that way. Now, I'm not saying that Madara wouldn't beat Korra, because I could see so many situations where he could. Like the anime gets so OP, like they get to a point where he has the power to just rewrite what just happened. Like if someone kills him, he could just like sacrifice an eye to be like, nah, I'm just gonna rewrite that. Like if Korra like sums up the power and he does some stuff like that, it could catch her off guard. But anyway, I still see a scenario that Korra could beat Madara Uchiha, which is probably my hottest take. Hotter than any of my takes that we'll talk about today.
Just chasing away fans, one fan base at a time, Chris. No, you can count me in the people. Like I don't like to cross series. Man, I don't even like my superheroes being in the same movies. Keep them separate. The actually sounds really bad. Chris, this
Separate but
is
equal is what I say.
yeah.
I
You know,
didn't
I'm
walk
gonna go
away
ahead and
because of
retract
it.
my statement. I'll find a more delicate way to word it. Uh, Chris is technically our Christmas episode, and so Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever you want to celebrate. Chris, tell me, we both buy our own presents. Tell me something cool that you either got yourself or you're gonna get yourself. Share your Christmas present with us.
I have no idea
You
at
got no
this
okay.
point. I thought about buying myself a new Samsung smartwatch, but I don't know if I'll do it. I really don't need it. Maybe I can convince my wife to let me get a PS5. I feel like my PS4 is doing this weird thing where, like, Apple devices be like, "Oh no, we don't work anymore. You gotta buy our new stuff."
Mm.
Like, none of my controllers are working for my PS4. It's really annoying, and I'm like, maybe I'll buy a new one. Also, I got a bunch of 4K Blu-rays. I don't have a 4K player. I'm just like, eventually I'll get a PS5. I don't know when, but eventually I will.
We're closing in on time where they're more gettable. We're there or close.
And that's
Um,
not even the reason why I don't have a PS5. I just don't see the need for it yet. Like gaming, it didn't to me the PS5 didn't take a leap enough forward that I feel like I need to get one. I'm just like, yeah, whatever, I'll just wait.
this generation, I feel, is hindered by the total backwards compatibility with the prior generations in terms of Xbox and PS5. So that's my hot take for the day. Is that's why that leap doesn't feel substantial, is because of the like sort of mandatory backwards. It's not. I don't know. I guess I'd still call it compatible. I know there's differences or whatever. Like you're getting the PS5 version, you're getting more out of it or whatever. But I feel like that's a big hindrance on development and growth and improvement. So that's my hot take for the day. But someday I'll probably have one or the other. Chris, actually, similar situation. I had to go buy myself some Joy Cons. I never realized how expensive Joy Cons were on their own. Like they're just like $60 or $65 just for like a new set
Yeah.
of Joy Cons. It's weird. So I ended up buying knockoff Joy Cons, and they feel way better. I forget the brand name. It's like they feel much better and like more substantial in your hands. Chris, they don't charge through the Switch when the Switch is on the dock.
Oh crap! Wow, that
I
sucks.
know. What a weird. Sorry, I know. I didn't actually. I got these for myself for Christmas. What a weird, quirky thing that I literally have to take Joy Cons off of it and charge them separate and then put them on. Oh, it pissed me off. Anyway, what I'm saying is I bought myself a crappy Christmas present and I'm very upset. But that's all right. I'll feel better, Chris, after we talk about unpopular Legend of Korra opinions.
All right, well, first we'll do. I'll go through my list. Shawn will probably share some of his, and also rebuttal against mine, and then I will share at the after that the viewer response. Lots of hot takes, lots of unpopular opinions. I feel my unpopular opinions here aren't as spicy as my Avatar ones.
Hmm?
So anyway, my first one is it's not even like a huge part of the show. Uh, Aang's portrayal as a bad father, I think it makes his character far more interesting, far more relatable. Like, and I think doing that to everyone, like making Toph a a bad mother. Toph was probably more of a bad mother than Aang was a bad father, to be honest. But
That might be
it
accurate.
just makes them so much more human. Like Aang in the series almost seemed like this, like just on a pedestal, perfect kid. Like some characters, like I remember the scene where Katara snapped at Aang one time, and she was like, "You and your wisdom and your perfect stuff." Like she snapped at him. I'm like, yeah, I kind of get it. Like Aang is depicted not only in the universe as like this kind of perfect person, but I think within fans, and I think Legend of Korra, as Keith Ledger Joker would say, brought him down to our level, like made him far more relatable as a character. Like, oh, he has flaws. Like he wasn't perfect. And also, I want to say that I don't think he was a bad father. I think, sometimes as parents, we have our shortcomings. Um, and Aang's shortcoming was that he didn't always take his kids, Bumi and Kaya, he didn't always treat them the same way that he treated Tenzin. But also, I'm sure he had a lot of pressure on himself to like, I gotta get Tenzin right. Like he is the only Airbender. Like he is the only chance for my whole culture and beliefs to move forward. Like I gotta focus a little more on him. He was wrong in that assessment, but I understood why he would have made that assessment. Also, again, him being a bad father is somewhat in the perspective, it's kind of biased because it's all in the perspective of Kaya and Bumi. And, we see many other scenes where Aang was a good father, especially with Kaya. Kaya talked about how she came out and her dad was so open to her, even though like members of the Water Tribe probably wasn't. He was there for her. So I think in this instance, I think it's kind of taken. I think fans have kind of take that and been like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe Aang is a bad father. Like Legend of Korra ruined him." I'm like, "Nah, I don't think so. I think it made him more interesting to have some shortcomings
I think he's
as a
just
father."
the
And I don't think,
right amount of bad father. Like I'm not even gonna lump him into the category of bad father so much as just
yeah, I wouldn't either. Yeah,
yeah. So like no, I'm with you 100% in that showing Aang be a not perfect father in Korra actually makes his character a hair more interesting. But yeah, I
yeah,
would never say. I don't know. I wouldn't say bad. Yeah, just weird situation Aang found himself in as a dad. Weird situation.
yep.
Well,
My
strong first take.
second one. Yeah, I think it's okay. My second one is that Book Two is great. I don't care what anyone says. I love Book Two.
I'm gonna say that's
I,
wildly unpopular.
wow. Like, oftentimes people are like, the only thing good about Book Two was beginnings. Uh, And I'm like, no, I like it all. Like, but no, I wouldn't say I like it all because I don't like it all. Because there are episodes, if we go back and look at our reviews, there are episodes I'm like, I don't like. And we also did a whole rewriting uh book two deal. And I
Tried
would
to like
still change.
ditch harmonic convergence altogether, and it was a good day. It was a good day.
I don't think we did harmonic convergence altogether. I think we,
I
I
tried
don't think
to, and it was mostly
I tried
unsuccessful.
to, and
Um,
I didn't go with.
you know,
I have to re-listen to it.
you did a great job. I tried to make my case for getting rid of harmonic convergence, and I feel like there was something there, but it wasn't as foundationally sound as yours by any stretch.
Uh,
Which is that's the
um,
norm here. That's fine.
so the things I don't like about book two is there's some early stuff with Korra and Tenzin that kind of just negates the character growth they had in book one. And then there's stuff with Mako and Bolin that just negates them as brothers because Bolin just wasn't there for him in certain moments. And then there's more love triangle stuff that didn't make Mako look bad. 'Cause I think he was actually, he's Ross, the whole we were on a break thing. Um, I think he was, I think, he was, I don't think he had any guilt in his actions, but it's still there was more love triangle drama there. Thing is, there's so much stuff that I love. I love the kaiju battle. Like Korra did something that no one has ever seen, and she wasn't the Avatar at that point. She bit the energy within herself and projected herself to be that being and destroyed the embodiment of chaos and darkness all with her own self. No avatar state, no Rava, just herself. I love that battle. Um, like I mentioned in our rewrite of that, they could have did a much better job explaining what the heck Janora was doing and tie that up much better. But I love that season because we got so much lore about the Avatar. Really learned about beginnings to me is two of the most beautiful episodes
But
ever
could you take
done.
in
I get you.
beginnings and throw them in another season just as like a one-off? And
I
like if
mean,
you
I don't
what
know. It
if you
might be
take beginnings
too.
out of that season? I
Okay,
mean,
so
you can't. But
if you took beginnings out, I would still like the season, but I wouldn't love the season.
it's just it's so like. Listen, I know we're dealing in fiction here. It's totally fine. But it of all of the seasons just feels like the biggest and most sort of like arbitrary
eyesore, maybe. Yeah.
like lack of restraint or anything could happen. Like it doesn't. It just it just doesn't feel as well like baked and thought out within like the constraints of a pretty well defined world with a pretty well defined set of what I'm going to call magic, but you know what I mean.
Rules of world building. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
yeah,
just feels
I
like
don't think I
anything could happen
even
without much reason, and I don't like that in my superhero movies. I don't like it in my Avatar.
I don't think I even necessarily disagree with what you just said, but it was almost needed to tell the origin story of the Avatar.
I think we could
Like,
have gotten a cool like if you cut out season 2 altogether. I know you can't. This is too big of a bite to chew off in this type of episode, but someday,
yeah, especially as it
y-
leads right into the airbending
yeah.
reemergence.
But there just would have been better ways to do that. Like if I would rather have more of season 3 and like a bigger season 3 story, and then not season 2 or whatever. And I think you could have made that work, but that's the biggest difference to me. It stands out as that one season where it just feels like anything goes, you know?
I think that's somewhat fair. Oh, in our plot hole episode a couple of weeks ago, we actually did one plot hole that I think is there is that we didn't mention. Sorry, a little cloggy there. We didn't mention like the airbenders coming back. Like that's like they didn't. They just like, oh, harmonic convergence did it, but they didn't really explain like how did harmonic convergence
That
do
feels like
this. Is it just a
convenience
okay?
ballpark. Is that fair?
I'll probably put it in a plot hole because they
It's
didn't.
full.
I mean, they said, hey, harmonic convergence. This is the reason why. They probably could explain like harmonic convergence is a time of like spiritual re-enlightenment, realignment, not re-enlightenment,
Mm-hmm.
realignment, where like things just fall a little bit more into balance, and that's why chakras were open and things like that.
They could have
But kind of,
explained it better. They could have given it more roots.
yeah,
Well,
and
that's
they could
fair.
have just at least explained just when they were explaining harmonic convergence in book two, they could have just said that with a quick sentence. So I think if I can solve this issue with a quick sentence, then maybe I will upgrade it to a plot convenience instead of a plot hole.
I'm
But
sticking convenience because it takes a moderate amount of gymnastics, but it's not like you did just solve it with a sentence, right? Just a little
yeah,
more. But yeah, no, that's a good point that we should have brought up. And Chris, no, you got what I like about this take is that is a very spicy take. I feel like that is a
man,
good unpopular
we
opinion
talked
right there.
before about how my daughter rewatches, which it's been a while since my daughter has watched Avatar. I have to get her back into it. She starts off with book two, of course, for some reason. She
So
starts off
it's
with beginning.
popular in the Ford household.
Yeah, Papa
Popular
Ford has
opinion over there. Listen, that's all that matters. I disagree entirely. But I'm
Okay.
also
So,
just the exact wrong audience for all of the Marvel complaints and everything I've ever said before. It just, yeah. But anyway, next point. Next point.
so my biggest hot take, which, you know, honestly, this might not be my biggest hot take. I think more people will agree with me on this than my previous two.
Yeah, the 2 seems like a big one, but yeah,
Yeah, you know what? Maybe I should have switched these around.
that's all right.
But my biggest hot take is that Korra is better than Aang in like every way. Like he is, and I didn't always believe this, but probably on my fifth rewatch of Korra, you know, and I've done probably 20 rewatches of Avatar. I was like, oh, Korra is like a much better written character than Aang. She's actually a better Avatar than Aang. And not to say that Aang is a bad Avatar. I think he's a great Avatar. But you know, and we did our rankings of avatars by how well we think they did and their job of being the avatar. And I think Korra was like number one, and Aang was like number three or four. You know, we just look at how well did they do at the job of Avatar of keeping balance and harmony within the four nations, and also the balance between the spirit world and physical world. Korra just has more wins and less uh, less setbacks or less losses in her columns than Aang does. And also, I think she is more powerful than Aang, and I think some people probably a lot of people disagree with that. Um, so I think in the three areas of measuring these characters, Korra is actually better than Aang. She's a better, well-written character than him. She's stronger than him, and she's even a better avatar than him. I feel like the written part, I will defend that forever. That she's a better written character than Aang, a better avatar. I would defend that as well. But I could probably buy into people. I could probably buy people arguing otherwise. Strength wise, I would argue all day that Korra is stronger than Aang. It would beat him in most cases. Anyway, that is now looking at that. I think, granted, that's like three opinions. I think a lot of Korra fans probably agree with me on that. And
I
there's a lot of
do, and I
diehard
would.
Korra fans.
A lot of core fans agree with you, but I bet there's a lot more like Avatar universe fans who don't. So I don't. I think you could your 2 and 3 opinions. Like I think you could go either direction there. I don't disagree with any of the 3 points you said that Korra is a better Avatar and better written and more powerful. I still argue that like when people bring up the Korra versus Aang, like the fight means something different to Aang. I'll always defend the idea that like if Aang gets away like unscathed and nobody does, like in Aang's mind, that's a win. So I'm not gonna tie like power to anything more than what it literally just is. And then I'll also say I do agree that Aang is a worse Avatar, and I bet that's an unpopular opinion by itself. But that I still will always empathize with Aang's position, such an unusual position of like 100-year displacement of life and technology and waking up and like the different nurturing and upbringing and having to preserve the airbenders and stuff. I'll always at least throw that out there in his defense of like, all right, he was a worse Avatar, but it's because he was always fighting. Same with the father. It's because he was always fighting that balance. So no, I think that's a great unpopular opinion. I don't know which would be more unpopular. That's a good question in its own right.
Probably that book 2 is.
In the greater Avatar universe, I bet the book 2 opinion is more unpopular. I bet. But hey, you had the courage to say it, and your daughter would be so proud of you. Chris, I don't have a whole lot of spicy takes on Korra. I'm not going to joke about the Gazan thing or anything. I will say that I think Amon's my favorite villain. I don't know that's horribly unpopular, but Zahir is very well liked.
Yeah, most people probably lean towards Zahir. I feel for some reason once Zahir was introduced, I feel like Amon was almost not an afterthought, but I feel like people started like downplaying Amon. I'm like, if you look back, Amon was like he had Korra shook.
I'm gonna say I don't have a good, well thought out defense as to why I think he's a better villain. Other than that, he's sort of he's a little more grounded in like the existing confines and rules of the Avatar reality, and they do a really good job of making a really scary, hyper powerful villain, but out of like the pieces that are already there. They don't have the benefit of like, oh, he gets to be an airbender, like just out of fortune or whatever. I don't know. It feels like really creative, a creative build of a villain. And he's very scary, and he shakes Korra.
And there's also some mystery.
And he hooked me right away too. So there's something about Amon that I do think I prefer to Zahir, and then Kuvira would be my third by a decent margin. I think the gap between Zahir and Kuvira would be pretty big for me, but I don't know how unpopular that it is, but I think most people would pick Zahir, and I would pick Amon. That's all. That's the only thing that immediately jumps to my brain. Unless we want to start talking about how the whole idea of harmonic convergence could have just been like scrapped and done better, but we'll go back. I think a lot of
people got issues with harmonic convergence.
We'll go back and we'll see how we rewrote that.
Yeah.
I don't remember how we did it. I'm curious to have what the fans had to say on this one because fans are so much harder on Legend of Korra as a series. I feel like there's going to be good fan comments here.
Actually, I think it was like mostly positive stuff compared to the Avatar stuff.
Okay,
So
interesting.
Coral says Korra was a more relatable Avatar than Aang. For example, if Aang had been put in Korra's situation with Tarlok, he would have found a more peaceful way to settle things. Not that that isn't right, but it's not relatable. Korra is far more relatable and wanting to teach him a lesson.
Okay,
I agree with that.
that yeah, I dig it, and I can see the unpopularity just from the sort of Avatar original diehards.
Savannah says Korra endured more trauma and did more for the world in the span of the show than any of the avatars did in their lifetimes, from the knowledge we've been given so far. Maybe except Avatar 1. And I mean, I agree with that sentiment. I mean, we've said before that Korra is probably the greatest Avatar. And one thing that I was thinking about before, that Korra is probably the most significant and impactful Avatar since Wan. Like she redefined so many things about being the Avatar. Broke, I feel like, a lot of barriers. Um, like she reestablished the whole Avatar link and stuff. Like she was kind of like, hey, Avatar knowledge is a thing in the past, which I absolutely love in the books. Like that's been kind of a constant thing I've been reading. Like Avatar knowledge is overrated.
I'm gonna
Like,
I'm gonna
oh, that's
but
one unpopular opinion.
oh yeah, go ahead.
Uh, one unpopular opinion that I probably have is that like Korra, her losing connection to past life isn't a big deal.
Not
Like, isn't a
as
big
big a
deal.
deal as people think. I think
Yeah,
it's
like
one of
it's
those
sure
things.
it's a
Yeah,
big deal, but it's not nearly a big deal as people seem to be,
it's
and
like
that's
getting rid
not.
of a tradition that you kind of don't care about the meaning for it anymore, right? Like it was
Yeah.
important at a time, but it doesn't. I'm gonna butcher this,
Okay.
but I hope that people understand what I'm trying to get at here. Is that one thing that like helps play in Korra's favor in terms of her impact is that like her existence comes during what I'm gonna say is like the equivalent of our industrial revolution in the United States and across
Mm,
the world, of like of all of the years prior to in school they always taught us is like the cotton gin, which is an interesting starting point for that. Whatever time frame that was. Interesting,
slavery.
yeah, interesting way to word that. But like the growth of technology from that moment up to the current date, being 150 to 200 years, but it's so much more significant than all of the rest of technological history prior to that point.
Yeah.
The growth and like that's what Korra exists in. So like that plays in her favor, and that's not trying to be a good thing or a bad thing of like the type of challenges and shit that she's putting up with and how big of an impact she's having on a rapidly changing world.
Yeah. And not only that, like the world is getting smaller. Like you think about,
Yeah.
imagine like media. Like she's over here worrying about her poll number and stuff, and like she has to like go to the press and talk to them about
There's
stuff, and then it's printed in the paper, and then
there's new
people read the
benders, there's
paper,
giant
and
mechs. Benders are competing directly with technology. Like they
imagine if Twitter was in these shows. They are trying to just like, screw it, guys. You guys aren't effing worth it. What?
yeah, so I just like I said, that's not supposed to be good or bad, but I think it plays in favor of what that person is saying and what you're saying of that Katara is the most impactful avatar, at least in
Or
the span of time. Over the entire lifetime, maybe Kyoshi's got to step up just from living a few of them. I don't know,
yeah, yeah.
but no, I would tend to agree, and I would tend to agree with the idea that that might be unpopular. Good take.
Ed says, Aang is not a terrible father. He is not ideal, but his parenting style is rationalized since Tenzin was his only son who could carry on the teachings of airbending. All the Aang hate is unwarranted. Yeah, and I fully agree with that sentiment.
Probably not horribly unpopular. I'm on board. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's a hot one from Anna. Lynn sucked.
Lynn,
Lynn.
I like that take. Lynn kind of sucks.
Well, okay. Anyway, I thought y'all say that she meant to say. So that's what she first said. Then she edited and said, "Oh no, oh my God, I meant Sue." Who sucked. And I disagree with both of them.
Okay, but hold up,
But,
because
oh,
we're talking about good parents and bad parents, and
yeah.
Suyin is like a surrogate parent to some degree, like
Yes, yes.
essentially raised a world dictator. Like, you gotta.
Yeah.
So Suyin
She
kind of
does.
sucks.
So she does go on to say, uh, I didn't like how she handled the Kuvira situation or how she treated anyone really. And I completely understand anyone's sentiment of that, of how she handled Kuvira. There are certain times where Suyin, I feel like she didn't approach Kuvira the right way. Like even in the
She was
finale, when
trying to be
Kuvira's
the
like,
cool parent instead of the good one.
well,
I feel like
I think when Kuvira turned, and I won't say turned because Kuvira I feel like was in the right for up to a certain point.
she didn't.
Uh,
She progressed.
yeah. When Kuvira is like handcuffed and Kuvira like gives herself up, she's like, the Avatar's power is beyond anything I could comprehend, or beyond anything I could accomplish. Like Suyin doesn't give her like this heartfelt anything. She's pretty close, so she's like, "You're gonna pay for everything you've done." Like, what up, Suyin? Like, weren't you supposed to be her like motherly figure? Like, you should be, I don't know, a little bit
Seemingly
more
adopted.
sentimental.
I can't pull out the line, but it's like
Yes.
seemingly
Yeah.
adopted by Suyin. It's not like it happened by
Yeah.
accident. Like,
Yes,
but
it was very intentional
I will
by
say that if you
Suyin
have
to bring
5
her
kids or
into her
whatever,
family.
like 1 or 2 of them are bound to come out, bad. Just odds. I don't know.
Now, I love Suyin, and I love that whole dynamic between her and Lin and Toph. I think I love Suyin because Suyin found a way to be a BA mother who she's work-life balance goals set. And I really appreciate that as a father of three who has to balance his work life
As a
and
father of
his
3 who's
personal
sitting in
life.
front of 8 shelves full of action figures. Yeah, man, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I like Su Yin, and I like her more because she's not perfect. I'm not gonna let her get overhyped because she's got her problems, but she's a very relatable character who has like a really pretty solid growth arc in our limited context with her. So, um, yeah, nice take.
Queer Kyoshi Warriors says better than Avatar. So better than Avatar Last Airbender. That I think is pretty unpopular opinion.
Ooh.
Because thing is, I love Legend of Korra, and I consider it like I'm in a weird headspace with it. 'Cause I'm just like I love them both pretty equally, but I consider Avatar to be again one of the greatest works of fiction ever. And I can't bring myself to say the same thing about Legend of Korra. I think Legend of Korra is one of the greatest cartoons ever, probably top in the top three for me.
But
Um,
as a singular fictional idea, and what I
yeah,
like about where you go with that is like I don't know, you're kind of taking limitations of the time out of it, and you're trying to look at the narrative being told here.
like Avatar has, and we talked about this. I forget with who. It was a guest that we had, but Korra has like higher highs, but also lower lows. And Avatar is just like steady. It gets to the point where it's just like it's a steady. It doesn't have really low lows. Maybe except for uh the Great Divide, but that
Maybe the
almost
Great
seems like an
Divide.
outlier.
Or
No
maybe,
one knows that well, and I hate Bottle of the Water Tribe.
yep, terrible episode. But maybe you come back next week, and we'll talk more about some of those ideas
Yeah.
when we talk about what.
Yeah,
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 come
that's
back
true.
next week.
Next week we're gonna talk about the things that we already did an episode on the things that Legend of Korra did better than Avatar. Next week we're gonna flip that around and talk about the things that Avatar: Last Airbender did better than the Legend of Korra.
It's gonna be a good time.
Uh,
Sorry to derail.
no, that's good plug for next week. Lana says Korra, though was strong, she let herself capture 3 times. Easy. Aang, not so much. So this might be a little indictment on Korra there. Which I mean, I don't know. Aang got caught like a couple of different times. I don't know.
I'm
It's hard to say.
I'm gonna fall back on the chorus contending with just a much different type of adversary in that day and age.
Berwin says, I don't like the per season Big Bad. I get it. It seems like a
Th-
preference thing.
yeah, that's
I can,
that is
I
an
can
opinion, and
understand
that
that.
is an unpopular one, I would bet.
Jose says, I'm sorry, these are mostly centering on Mako, but here goes. Mako was a good person overall. Korra was equally responsible for their relationship falling apart. Agree. Bolin was a terrible brother for not helping Mako. I agree with
Mhm.
that as well, especially in book two.
Bolin was really douchey
Asami
for several episodes in there.
Asami threw Mako under the bus in order to save a company that destroyed her family. And Lynn is a horrible parental figure and should take a second look at her time as the chief. um, I don't
Couple,
disagree with like most of these things in here.
yeah, there's a couple of fun
I think I
takes in
agree
there
with
that I
most.
could see the general consensus shaking their head at a little bit.
Yeah. He goes on to say Michael got the worst in terms of how he was treated, not just by the fans, but also the writers. Yeah, I think
Yeah, we
so. Yeah.
like undeserved or like Asami. It might be unpopular because we have, especially like you and I, but also I think the general population a really positive outlook on Asami. So it's nice to like think about character flaws there.
Yeah.
Yeah, good takes. I like it.
Anna says Kaya and Lin as a couple makes more sense to me than Lin and Tenzin. I agree with that. Yeah,
Okay.
Kaya and Lin.
Yeah. Lin and Tenzin seems doomed from the
Caitlin.
start.
Yeah, yeah. That's just like
That's
oil and
that's
water.
just a young people thing. They dated,
Yeah.
whatever.
It's like, hey, we've been around each other like for a long time because our parents are really close. Like, there's gonna be something there,
You're gonna
and
try
that
to
something
go
doesn't
on a
always
date.
work out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Caitlin says, Korra's flaws were shown too often in book one and two.
Hmm.
Mako isn't that bad of a character and boyfriend to Korra. He didn't deserve the hate from the fandom.
Okay,
Mako's getting a lot of love
nice.
here. This is a good little
That's
Mako corner here.
that's good. That's probably the type of unpopular opinion that feels like it needs to shift a little bit. Mako's a decent dude.
Asami was too perfect. It made her boring. You know
Hey,
what? I haven't thought about that, but Asami, this
I mean, we just
she might.
discussed it twice in 2 minutes. That's got to count for something.
Yeah, the show had way too many characters. Uh, hmm.
Is that a product of being four different storylines and four different seasons, as opposed to?
No, the interesting thing is some characters do get kind of left behind. Like Lynn in book two is pretty non-existent. Like, and also I think her
And that's
character
why
development
book two
because they weren't
sucks.
because they were focused on Lynn. You have General Iroh the second, who was like a big part of book one. He kind of just goes away.
We don't hear from him for a
Really?
while.
Yeah, not really well. This one I'm going to completely disagree with Caitlin. It's just that the beginning two-parter is overrated.
No, I'm on
I
board with that, and I think that's a great
Yeah,
unpopular opinion.
it's a
Caitlin,
great unpopular opinion, and I disagree with it
Caitlin, we stand
wholeheartedly.
together with that. I'm with you. That's a great unpopular opinion.
Giddings is so amazing. I literally get goosebumps at the end of that every time I watch it. It never fails.
Stupid
That only
Juan.
happens to me with like a few moments in fiction, like in Batman Begins, when he says, "It's not who I am, but it's not who I am underneath, but what I do that defines me." He says it to Rachel, and he flies off, and she's like, "Bruce," and he just, and then the end of the Dark Knight, where Commissioner Gordon says, like, he pretty much crowns the Dark Knight. It's like,
Okay.
he's a watch because we can chase him. He's a watchful protector, Dark Knight, and it's like.
Set aside the narrative for a minute, though. I don't even like the animation style that much. It's
Oh
different
gosh.
and it's
Let's just move on.
fine, but like, why does it need to be different? Why
Oh
did it
my,
have to be different at all?
it's so good.
It's
It's so
fine. It seems so good because it's different, and that's it.
I need
Caitlin,
I need a new co-host.
stand together. Maybe Caitlin's free. She can record all your crap.
uh, you'll disagree with here. Book three is overhyped.
Book 3 is
Uh,
amazing, man. Book 3 is incredible. I still,
I love I love different opinions on stuff. It's so funny. It's so
I
cinema.
still prefer the brevity and the man. Book one is tight. There's no extra fat. It's great from beginning to end. I still, if you twist my arm without thinking about it too hard, I'm still probably picking book one. But like some of my favorite moments in all of Avatar happen in book three.
Yeah,
Several of them.
it's book
But
three
I
is
respect you
great.
being
I
willing
love
to say that.
your brain.
Yeah, that's awesome. Way to be. You cannot like it.
Like
Maybe
so many people who like hate who I feel like unrightfully so dislike Legend of Korra are just like, yeah, but book three was great though. Like that, I think that
that's
I
like
think
they're
it was a
saving.
good,
If book
yeah.
three does kind of feel like a return to form in a book in an
I think
Avatar,
yeah, because
like I
they
get
do a
it.
lot of. It's to me, it is the most Avatar of. It's the most Avatar season of
It's
Korra.
very grounded in like bendy things
It's
in
globe
in a big bad, and
trotting.
yeah, like
You get back to like moving around.
mm,
No, just a lot of different, a lot of other
yeah,
similarities.
book three is great. But I respect you throwing that out there. Like I said, I'd probably pick one with a gun to my head, but
She says Zahir is overrated.
I
And then
just
she
don't
ended
like
with
that he's
saying,
OP. I don't know that he's overrated. He's a great
yeah,
villain. He's great. I always feel like he's a little OP, but I've softened on that stance over the years
good.
a
AJ
little.
says it is just as good as Atla. Another person
Okay,
saying these things.
okay.
Uh,
Chris,
and
will
I
we
think
ever have that discussion where we force ourselves to pick one, or will it just be one of those episodes where it ends? It's like, well, this day it's this, but that occasion it's that.
well, I like I said, I hold that Avatar is a better show. I don't know which one I like better, but we are going to eventually rate all the seasons because we have scientifically rated every episode, and and we have the data to prove which show is better. We
we
just gotta do that episode.
uh yeah, I mean, the favorite is easy. Like, I'm always going to pick Avatar, but I also understand the power of nostalgia. Like, all the crap behind me over here that's old crap, like, that's nostalgia. So, um,
Yeah.
part of the game.
Uh, sorry, I might mispronounce this. Probably Tamara. No,
Tamara?
Tamara, Tamara, probably Tamara. Says Mako redeemed himself. Yeah, I think I think Mako's great by the end of
You
the
know, at
series.
the beginning of this episode, we would have said that's unpopular, but now we're starting to shift it.
Yeah.
It's popping up a lot.
Zayn says Mako is this is funny. Mako isn't that hot. Bowen, on the other hand, is adorable. Signed, a certified lesbian. So,
Oh, that's fun. Like, that's not what I was expecting to have it signed, I guess. I prefer the looks of Bolin, personally, as far as an animated character go.
I think I
Mako's
prefer the looks
mate.
of Mako because Mako's like, I don't know, he's very streamlined. I mean, I think both character, I think from a character design perspective, they're both great. I'll probably give it to Mako. That's Scar for school.
He looks
I
like
mean,
he's designed to be like a jock, though. You know, where Bolin looks like he's designed to be.
I don't know.
Oh, interesting.
Uh, Jackie says Korra is not a bad avatar. Y'all are just mean. I mean, I'm assuming she means y'all are just bad other people.
Yeah,
And I completely agree with that because I think she's the best avatar. But I do think a lot of people say she's a bad avatar, and I think a lot of them are just like
man.
a little bit biased.
If we ever get a movie on Kurek's life, that then you'll see what a bad avatar looks like.
Uh, Teo says I love Mako and didn't approve of Korra and Asami together. Um, I think there is. I think there's a big section of fandom that like Mako and Korra together. We haven't done our ships episode yet, which we'll get to it eventually. Um, but I think they're good together. I just think it actually, I think they're okay together. I was fine if they ended up together, but I am happy where it ended at because I think book two showed that they didn't work out. And like that fight they had, I think was a very realistic to how they would end their relationship.
Yeah. Again, I'm going to say that my unpopular opinion is that, if we looked at the show 20 years later, that they should all probably just be with different people. And, like, why you just got to be from this pool of the 10 characters that we know? Because
Bolin. Oh wait, no,
because
Bolin,
fiction, so that's fine.
Do you think Bolin would end up with Opal? I don't think so.
No.
I think eventually.
That's gonna be my take on most of these. Like, those two wouldn't really wind up together, or they would, and then they get divorced because 50% divorce rates, presuming it's a 1-to-1.
That's still true.
I don't know. I actually don't know.
I mean, both our parents are still.
Yeah.
So that as if.
Also,
brothers.
I never understood how that was calculated. Like 50%. Does that mean?
We just.
Does that mean that like half of all marriages end? Like, how is it weighted for the same person that gets divorced like 8 times? Like, how does J-Lo factor into this equation? You know what I mean? I don't get it.
Yeah.
But my point will always be, it's like, yeah, even if they do end up with it, doesn't mean they should have. So, no, I would say Bolin and Opal don't last. That doesn't seem like that seems like an okay pair, in the same way that I would say Korra and Mako seem like an okay pair. You gonna stand for another episode?
I'll just stand here.
Oh snap! Next episode, Chris gonna get a workout.
Yeah. That was it. That was all the unpopular opinions on Legend of Korra from viewers like you.
Thank you so much for
What is the PBS thing? Something that's brought to you by viewers like you. You remember when they would say that?
Proud support viewers like you, and I was like, oh, thanks. Yeah.
What did
it's at the end of like every show. Yeah, I can't remember exactly what they said. Thanks for writing in, Chris. Thanks for posting the question, getting all the responses and thoughts together. This has been Avatar: The Last Podcasters. Come back. Hey, Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays or have a good weekend, or do whatever you want to do. That's fine. And we'll see you next week. Well, some of you next year if you're late, I suppose. We'll see you next week. Otherwise, thanks everybody. I think Discord does a good job of filtering some noises out. So it might only pick up like a small portion of your beatboxing.